another episode of Recap Kickback where we talk about movies, we talk about music, we talk about television, or whatever else I want to talk about. It's me, your host, Chappell, and this week we are going to be discussing the new FX show that is now streaming also on Hulu called Clipped, the scandalous story of LA's other basketball team. That's right, we're going to be talking about the LA Clippers, Donald Sterling, and Lawrence Fishburne, and whatever is going on with his face. And with me to talk about that, I had to bring in some sports experts from the Duo Sports and Stuff podcast. We have Deonte and Dane. What's up, y'all? Welcome, fellas.
What's up, Chappell, man? Appreciate you for having us on, man.
Thank you so much for having us, man.
Oh man, no, it's my pleasure. I've been dying to get y'all on here for a long time. I ain't been in the game that long, but I knew when I got rolling, I needed to have the duo come on and join me to talk about sports at some point. And this here, I don't even know how much sports we're gonna actually talk about because Clipped, from what I can tell, is going to be a wild season of television. It's gonna be a wild series, and it's gonna be so much fun discussing it with the both of you. But before we get into all of that, could you please let everybody know what y'all do, who the duo is, where you come from? Lace us up on why exactly I had to call you two specifically to talk about this one.
Yeah, man. I appreciate you. I am Deonte Epps, one half of the Duo Sports and Stuff podcast from Killeen, Texas, Central Texas, graduate of Baylor University. You know how it goes. But now I'm living in Connecticut. In July will make 2 years already. It's gone by so fast that Karina and my wife, have lived up here. Of course, Brandon, you know my wife pretty well. I work for a company with the 4 letters that you might see on certain sports kind of topics and things of that nature. But yeah, I've been doing that for 2 years now, and excited, man. Excited to be here. Excited to get it cracking. And and the other part, and I let Dane go after me, is we had a podcast that we started back in November of 2019. Oh my God.
2019.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
It was we started pre-COVID
Wow.
because our 11th episode was right after COVID dropped, and I remember COVID
dropped like it was a mixtape.
We dropped it. We
dropped COVID.
But it was we were just talking about sports shutting down and all that, but that was so long ago. We had to kind of shut down the pod for a while to kind of get things situated since I came up here, and life things happen in our lives. So we'll talk about that later, but we're trying to do a little something in the future. But Dane, go ahead, bro. I took up a lot of time.
No. I think you hit the nail on the head. My name is Dane Beasley. I'm the other half of the duo. Sounds weird saying this after so long. My goodness. Yeah.
Back in the saddle, man. Back in.
Right?
Yeah, for real.
Right? So yeah, from Killeen, Texas as well. Sam Houston State University grad over there in Huntsville, Texas. So I'm up here in North Texas now. Your favorite or second favorite HR professional at one of these ISDs. So trying to make sure these kids get a quality education out here and ensure that people have the support that they need to do their job and do their job well. And in the meantime, on the side, we'll talk some sports and maybe a little bit of a drama to go with it. So Dang, thank you for having me.
Oh no, it's no problem, Dane. I had to pull you out of retirement. So Dane, when you say sports and stuff, what do you mean stuff?
Man, how much time you got, brother? So we've covered a vast majority of topics just over the short period of time, since 2019, from social issues, from TV shows, different topics that that have taken the internet by storm, but just a number of other things. It's sort of like a catch-all. It's like as other duties are assigned with your job description. That's what that part is.
Now, I'm gonna tell your listeners, Chappell, if y'all go in there right now, they were like, man, they ain't did nothing in a year. Like they gonna see some like, man, they ain't real. They ain't dropped nothing in a whole year. It's like, I know we've gone through some things, life things, but we're coming back. Be patient. Format will be a little different, but as Dane said, on the stuff side, we discussed Marvel previously, so if you're a fan of Marvel, go check out some of our stuff. We've had some great guests in the world of sports, big names from the 4-letter company, the sports world, people that, you know, on Netflix. We have some Netflix stars come on our show as well to discuss certain topics. We've had our very own Chappell, who's the host of this show, come on and our show and talk. I can't remember what we even talked about that day, but he came on our episode as well. But it's great. Subscribe, you know, all those things. Like, we're on Twitter, Instagram, and on all your streaming platforms. But we will be back soon. That's all I'm saying.
There's more. Yeah, we don't know when the more, but it's gonna be there.
Yeah, there will be more. Trust me. And listen, I'm a big fan of both of y'all, so I'm so happy to have y'all here. But I'm also happy to have you, the listeners, here as well for this podcast. Thank you so much for following Recap Kickback, for keeping up with all the stuff we've been doing. I started this in February. We're in the summertime now, and we got a lot of content coming your way. So if you have not already subscribed, make sure you hit the subscribe button. If you are listening to this on your podcast feed, then you got to go to youtube.com/@recapkickback. Hit subscribe so that we can hit that 1,000 follower mark. We are on our journey to 1,000 followers, 1,000 subscribers, and I need your help to do that. So share the podcast, click like, click subscribe, and make sure that everybody knows that we're having a good time here at Recap Kickback, because everybody's invited. So that said, clipped, y'all. Okay. So for the people who do not know what I'm about to talk about, Clipped is a sports miniseries that explores the fall of Donald Sterling and his career as the owner of the LA Clippers. Now, this was a very scandalous time in sports, in basketball specifically. And there's so much to dive into in this series. Now, Deonte, did you know this was coming?
I did. I saw... maybe somebody tweeted about it a few months ago, but honestly, bro, when you texted me to ask if we wanted to be on the show, I totally forgot about it. And when you said it was like, I think you said it drops Tuesday or whatever, and I was like, oh snap, I completely forgot. So it brought me back, of course, to that time, and then I watched the episodes, and it really brought me back. But yeah, it's as wild as you're describing. If people haven't seen it yet, of course, you shouldn't be listening to this yet. So you should watch the show or the episodes, then come back. But it's a wild ride for sure.
Yeah, not to get into any spoilers, Dane, but yeah, did you enjoy watching the first 2 episodes of Clip? Because we're watching episodes 1 and 2. They have dropped. And then after this, they will drop weekly episodes until the series is over. But did you have fun watching this?
I did. I thoroughly enjoyed the content that came across my screen. And so in all actuality, when I saw the trailer, I thought it was one of those fan-made joints, you know, people, you know, go on YouTube and they clip different stuff together. I was like, is that? No, that's not. It's Morpheus. What is he doing? Is that okay?
Not Morpheus.
So yeah, it was very enjoyable. Very enjoyable. And I look forward to every episode that follows just because of the sheer theatrics that are involved with how everything unraveled.
Do we know how many episodes it's gonna be?
I think so.
6 or 7, right?
Okay. I guess Hulu wasn't showing them all. It only showed like up to 4 when I looked on Hulu today. So maybe it's just holding it.
There are 6. So this will go through from June through the July 2nd, I believe is the finale date. And so it'll take about a month to wrap this all up. But like I said, we jumped in and got the first 2 out the way already. And so if you have not watched the episode, this is my quick little synopsis for you if you plan on watching it. And then we'll get into some spoilers and some of the bigger plot points. But again, this is about LA's other basketball team. The Clippers had not won a championship in years and years and years ever. They'd only made the out of the first round of playoffs, I think, twice in their entire franchise history. And so they were in a time where people weren't taking them seriously, and they had a very unserious owner named Donald Sterling. Donald Sterling will then go on to say some very vile things about minorities and live his life in a way that is just deplorable. And quite frankly, they got him about the paint eventually. It was all in the news. It was all over the place. And it all started with his assistant, in quotation marks, his assistant, V. Stiviano, who many people might recognize from her interviews that she's done, and some other scandalous things that have come out about her. So this series will follow what happens when you piss off your assistant slash sugar baby way too much, and you have also given her full license to record every conversation that y'all had. So that's the story. That is the overarching theme of the show. I'm telling you right now, it's crazy. Episodes 1 and 2 were wild, but this is your time to jump out of here because we are about to spoil this and we're about to talk about this in full detail. So if y'all are ready, the duo, y'all good with that?
Let's get it, man. Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert.
All right, cool. This man, Donald Sterling, is a monster. This is a menace of a human. Okay.
Yes.
I saw the news. I knew that this man had said some wild things, but the cast of this show, the way they have casted Ed O'Neill as Donald Sterling to just be this just completely unlikable, racist, just almost senile, rich individual, Deonte. Is this your king? This your boy, huh? You know, you like.
Whoa. But it did remind me of somebody that's in the news currently. I'm sure everybody knows about that. But one thing I did or did not expect from the show was like they get right into it, like off the jump, straight to, it's narrated by the assistant, and it gets right into the recordings, and it takes you like it starts from the beginning, or should I say starts at the end with having the recordings, and then takes you back to how it all began and through that little era. But what I literally texted Dane yesterday while I was watching, I was like, man, Ed O'Neill's kind of acting his ass off because he immediately, like you said, makes you just hate his guts to the core. And I actually went back earlier today and listened to the actual TMZ like real life ones, and like the way they kind of mirrored it. They didn't tweak it, but it's like mirror to mirror, like exactly how they're both sounding, the way they're pronouncing their words, the way, I know you're going to get into this as well, but just the cringiness of it all. It just really brought me back to that time when, it actually made the Clippers relevant, and not the best way for them. But to this day, it's like what the Clippers are known for now out of anything else. So I enjoy the acting from Ed O'Neill for sure. And even from Lawrence Fishburne, even though he's not doing the full Doc Rivers voice, I probably would enjoy that even more. But from those two, I really felt their characters. I'm not sure about anybody else, but I'm sure we'll get into that. But I enjoy those two, the way they portray their characters.
Yeah, we'll get into the cast as well. But Dane, you remember when this was in the news? Did you expect for it to be portrayed this badly? Because this looks awful.
You know how you watch a movie when you were a kid, and then you watch it years later, like, damn, is it really that bad? Was this really this bad? Was that really? I thought this was. So that's how I felt. It's one thing when you get to experience something a very long time ago, but when this is pretty fresh. The Band-Aid was ripped off not too long ago. So again, it doesn't bring. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and say it doesn't bring great joy to my heart as a lifelong LA Lakers fan, watching all this be replayed like this. But what I will say is that I'm going to watch every second of it, just because, in a historical sense, one, I want to see the accuracy of it. Two, I want to see, all right, how well do these people line up in terms of the casting and then the actual person. And then three, like the other nuances that we are well aware of, like, and I'm sure we'll get into it later, just how some athletes, some point guards or point gods, as people call them, have little man syndrome, and how that plays out in the little jabs that they take at these particular characters and instances. It's been quite enjoyable.
Yeah, and as a Lakers fan, you've been through this before because you've seen Winning Time, I'm sure, right? And some of the other, So is this very similar to that kind of feel, like where it's like those true events, but we kind of put our own spin on it?
So yes, and I will say I started Winning Time and I didn't finish it only because I realized it got canceled. It's like, man, I kind of feel like that part is it's taken away from me, the pinnacle of the existence of the show. But one thing I will say about winning, I mean, not to compare the two, but it's like, how is DeAndre Jordan staring CP3 in the face? Like, aren't these two guys supposed to be like? And that's one thing I can say, like, Winning Time got right. Like, they got all these, giant mammoth tall, guys that are playing these actual people. And again, I know that's I guess it could be a tit for tat thing, like, well, they're doing these things this way, and this is what I'm used to. But it's just one of those things that the tiniest of details that brings that level of authenticity to a good show like that. So,
I think the Winning Time, even like the actors that are playing the players, not even like the height differences, like they make them real, like comparable to their real life counterparts, but their acting was believable to me more than what we've seen so far in episodes 1 and 2 of Clipped. And so like I know it's still early, but right now it's just like up here and down here with these two shows. This one's more I laughed at Winning Time, but I also felt like I learned some things, right? With Clip, I just feel like I'm laughing like 24/7 at drama and like the craziness of it all, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I kind of feel like if you're a Clippers fan and you watch this, do you even watch this? Because I feel like you said, if you weren't already, they call them in this miniseries a joke of a franchise at different points. But if you weren't already a joke, how is this supposed to make you feel? You know what I'm saying? It's like watching the slow moving train wreck as your franchise that you probably love, and you buy the merch and you go to the games and you support, you ride or die. This is our year. But Dane, you kind of understand that. You're a Cowboys fan. You get it.
Yeah, every year is our year.
Yeah. But then when you got to watch this reimagination of what was going on, I just can't imagine as a Clippers fan you would watch something like this, Deonte. I don't know.
It's definitely another reminder, like even Lawrence Fishburne playing Doc Rivers' character when he went into the office and old boy was introducing him to everybody. He was here for 20 years, 40 years. He's like, are you just reminding me that y'all haven't done shit for 40 years?
Y'all suck.
Y'all suck for 40 years, and like, even like if you take it to present day, how the Clippers have done, like nothing's really changed. I mean, the players have changed, but they haven't. But I don't think they've gotten to the Western Conference Finals.
No,
you know what I'm saying? So like, it's just a reminder to Clippers fans of the history of not being good.
I would be so mad. I'm sorry. I would be rioting. The way I'd be outside the stadium right now, like, y'all really gonna let who greenlit this? Because you as a fan, you put so much of your energy into just hoping that these millionaires make more money and do well in life, right? And it's just like that person achieving their highest honor would make my little heart happy. You know what I'm saying?
You gotta just ignore it, like pretend it doesn't happen. Like you see it on social media, you're muting the person that's saying it, you're blocking them. Like, hey, we got a new owner, we getting a new arena. They got a new arena that's opening up next season. Like that, I don't understand that Clippers team. Like I don't know them. Like that's all you got to do at that point. Put your hands up.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. It seems like, and I think everyone, if they have not been in a situation like this, they know somebody that has. Group of people inside a house making fun of somebody. You walk in the door and everybody stops and say, "What y'all talking about?" I was like, "Oh, nothing. No. Y'all keep talking. What y'all talking about?" We was kind of making fun of you, and you got two choices. You can either accept the joke, not ruin the fun of the party, or you can leave the party because the joke is about you. So I guess that's how Clippers fans feel right now. Myself personally, I would be quite embarrassed, but
I don't know one Clippers fan, to be honest.
That's the sentence. Yeah, like, I don't know one Clippers fan.
I don't know one.
Period.
Go ahead.
Because what could you say it? You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's the thing. Like, I feel like if you are a Clippers fan, you celebrate. Everybody celebrates their wins, right? And like we're all a part of different fandoms, and we've all had low moments. We definitely have. And so like we cannot just sit here and be like, like we ain't never had no bad years. Trust me, we all have in different sports or whatever it was. We'd all taken some L's. However, it just feels like the fandom when they start winning, right?
Yeah.
But there's been so many scandals and so much drama and so many near misses on teams and bad seasons and just stuff like that, to where
always
injuries
being referred to as the Lakers' little brother. Like that's
right.
always been the the Clippers. So I mean, to your point, it's like the running joke.
You see them. Yeah. So all that to say, this series is going to talk about one of the biggest blemishes on the Clippers, and that is their owner, Donald Sterling. We've talked about it a little bit, but this cast is interesting, I will say. So we talked about Ed O'Neill as Donald Sterling. Ed O'Neill is somebody who I personally love in most roles that he plays. I liked him in Modern Family. There's Al Bundy as well. And this is a different Ed O'Neill than I'm used to. This Ed O'Neill is probably more Al Bundy than I'd like to admit. But at the same time, this guy is he's a mega racist. I remember I was there. I was 2015. Everybody was talking about Donald Sterling, but this depiction of him as almost like incompetent to the point of like where it's comedy, right? I think there's a scene, Dane, where he wants to take the season ticket holders into the locker room and just parade the players in front of them as if they're slaves. like show me your wingspan. How big? How high can you jump? Tell him. I was like, this was happening and nobody said nothing.
It's almost like this is not real, right? Like,
right.
This couldn't possibly happen, right? But it did, and it kind of opens the conversations. Like, how many of these owners are like this? Because there's so much access that we have to sports in general, right? So much access that we have, but then there's also access that we don't have until we hear about stories like this. And then, unfortunately, I mean, aside from death, this is probably one of the worst things you could possibly happen. Your reputation being dragged to the mud because of how vile and racist and misogynistic you are. So it's that scene was very uncomfortable, and it just happened to be Doc Rivers in that situation that kick the paparazzi out. Like,
yeah. And you mentioned Doc, who was portrayed by Lawrence Fishburne. Deonte, you mentioned it earlier, but it's like, does he look like Doc? He don't sound like that.
They gave him the Doc like sprayed on hair. It looks sprayed on to me. It's like I see it, the funny stuff on like TikTok and Instagram when bald dudes try to get a fade and they get the sprayed on hairline. That's what they did. Yeah,
not the armor.
They did my boy Lawrence Fishburne wrong, but I will say like him portraying Doc is like I like go back to how Doc is now with when he's in the media and talking to people and stuff like that. But the mannerisms I feel like are kind of similar to how he acts or what I've seen. I wish he would have did the voice just for giggles, like just go raspy, like. Just Doc Rivers and you get Chris Paul and just do the full Doc. I can't do it, but do the Doc voice. Do it, But it's a trip.
Lawrence Fishburne. I love this man, right? Like we love him and everything he's been in. He's an iconic actor. I love highlighting the big name black actors on here and also lesser name black actors. And whenever I get a chance on Recap Kickback, you cannot say enough positive things about Lawrence Fishburne, the actor, but I don't know how he ended up in this role. I do not know. I feel like as an actor, he can handle whatever you throw at him. But it's like a cartoon character of Doc Rivers, right? And it's not even fully cartoonish enough because he's not doing the voice. But it's not like I have a better casting person in mind. Like I'm not like, oh yeah, it should have been somebody else. But to me, I just feel like we kind of wasting Lawrence Fishburne here. Like, is he bored? He ain't need the job.
That's the thing. Like, your agent, I'm in Lawrence Fishburne's shoes. Like, your agent calls you, like, "Hey, man, we got a role for you." Like, what is it? You gonna be in this movie about the Clippers? He's like, "Oh, like you thinking like, all right, it's a sports movie, and it's like, oh no, you're playing Doc Rivers during the Donald Sterling thing." You're like, I wonder what his his first response to that was like, "Hey, I'm doing it, but y'all finna pay me like buku." But like, I wonder what the salary, what Hulu, you know, the production team, whatever, put together and slid to his agent, slid to him. Like, it had to be through the roof for him to accept this role.
Yeah, because this is a weird one for Larry Fishburne. I wonder if he's a Lakers fan. Maybe that's what this is, Dan. He's here to kind of stomp on the Clippers' grave, you know?
Oh,
like take them down from the inside. Yeah,
I could see that. That is a good, that's a good lane to be in. Because you don't lose anything by you know, you walking away from this and you high-fiving everybody in the Lakers game on the way to the man. That's
I'm telling you. It feels like an inside job. Right.
Now I'm gonna have to comb this man's social media if he has any. Comb this man's social media and see if I see him courtside sitting next to Jack or something.
I wouldn't be shocked. I really wouldn't. And if he wasn't, he will be after this because every Lakers fan is about to say, "Oh yeah, Doc, they got to move. They got to move Lawrence Fishburne right to the front of the line." Okay. Also, we have Jackie Weaver as Shelly Sterling throughout. Shelly Sterling, this lady is in hell. She is in hell. Her husband is kind of cheating on her a little bit.
Let's talk about that.
Some emotional cheating going on.
But it's physical cheating.
It's all cringe. Like, I guess.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Dane. Go ahead, Dane.
No.
Dane, like, I'm not touching this.
I know. It's like it's
I
weird.
Wouldn't do it. I'm gonna put it that way. I wouldn't do it.
But
personally,
I always thought, like, in the real life scenario, that it was a physical, intimate relationship, and how they've depicted it on the show, that it was everything but that. Like, everything that a mistress or somebody that cheats on their wife would do, the gifts, the hanging out, you know, buying everything for everything but that. Now we know it's a drama of those real life events, so I'm not sure of the accuracy of that part. I really don't want to know, but I think me personally, I think they didn't touch up on that just to leave that into interpretation for the viewer. Because I always thought that that's what went down. I thought the going down went down.
Went down. Yeah, went down. Because there is that scene where she drops down to her knees and start rubbing his feet.
But you see how you see what the camera did? Like, whoever was editing,
not the pump fake.
Bro, because he go ahead.
Well, look, the articles say that it was never, the real life articles, they say it was never sexual. They maintain that. But I think anybody, you know, with some type of level of sense knows that that's probably not the case. Even though everybody involved is saying it is the case, it's probably not. So I like how the show is showing us that if you choose to believe them, you can.
Exactly.
But also, if
really,
Dane, he bought this woman a Ferrari. She ain't do nothing. A Ferrari?
Listen.
A Ferrari.
I don't know how to. Okay. I love my wife. My wife loves me. Right? And there would be there would be furniture would probably be moved.
The consequences.
Relatives would probably be over here, and they'd probably put their hands on me, right? You can fight one, but you're not gonna be able to fight all of them. But
they're gonna jump you.
If I just come home one day with a Ferrari, and like, oh yeah, you know, boss gave it to me. There's gonna be questions and
concerns.
Questions, concerns, private investigators, voice papers, all that type of stuff is going to take place. So I guess to me, one of the wonderings I have, without going back and looking at the literature, how the hell did this all get started? Because it doesn't just start like, oh boom, I got a Ferrari, or oh boom, you're buying me property, or boom, like, I got a business in my name or whatever the case may be. How does this thing start? Like, that's what I'm trying to wrap my mind around, especially if there isn't anything physical that takes place. And again, not to say that there has to be anything physical, but this can't escalate like this unless I'm just naive. And maybe I don't have that kind of, I don't have that kind of money. I don't have that kind of access. Exactly. So what do I know? So
yeah. So the series does start amidst the affair already, right? Like when we meet Donald Sterling in this role, he's already got his assistant. We are welcome into the world where the assistant is V Stiviano, and she is recording everything that he says because he told her to. He's like, I can't keep up with everything that I be saying, so I need you to record it and read it back to me like it's dictation. Now, that is a wild thing for somebody who says the things that he says to expect of somebody, but
arrogant.
By the time, so arrogant. So the hubris on this man, but to do that with some woman who we don't know where she came from. We don't know how she gets there based on the series, but she's already in it. She's already riding the Ferrari. She's already got the money. She's trying to get him to buy her a home. I'm sure he's helping pay for this adoption that she wants to do. So this entire time, we don't know what she did to get chose and put in his good graces, but he is. And so this is his 31-year-old mistress, okay? It's played by Cleopatra Coleman. Now, his wife, Shelly Sterling, throughout, Shelly is saying that she's aware that this is Donald Sterling's girlfriend. She's aware that he's buying her all this stuff. And honestly, she says he's had girlfriends before, but this feels different because he is flaunting this woman. I mean, Deonte, the green dress courtside at the game, that is wild behavior for your mistress. Normally I think you would want to keep that to yourself, especially with the amount of money he spent on her, right?
Well, that's where the arrogance comes in. And he's like, man, I'm the owner of the Clippers. Nobody's going to do anything about it. But the funny thing was seeing Doc Rivers, seeing the players all react, just knowing how they felt like they knew he was buku from the beginning of all these things. Like the signs were there for them to understand that this was not a regular guy. This was a guy that's flaunting, like being arrogant. They didn't know about, of course, the full-on racial kind of attitude he had, but there were signs, like you had mentioned, in the locker room, like him eyeing the players and the wingspan on DeAndre Jordan and all these other things. But yeah, man, just overall, just it keeps bringing me back to reminding me of someone we all know in the public sphere right now. And it's funny. I want to say Hulu kind of did that on purpose, and like during, like, especially dropping it around this time with everything going on. I think that was purposeful to kind of make those comparisons.
Oh, you talking about Jerry Jones?
Oh, I forgot about Jerry Jones.
Well, let's not jump to conclusions.
anyway, yes. So yes, Donald Sterling is an insane person throughout this entire miniseries, it seems, while Doc Rivers is trying to pull this franchise up out of the gutter. And his big move, this first move that he wants to make, so he wants to bring in a superstar, JJ Redick. Okay, I'm gonna say this. I'll say this in the nicest way possible. Imagine thinking JJ Redick is the one piece you need to win the championship. He had a plan, Dane. What happened here? This is the championship team, right, Dane? This is the one he used, right? This is the one.
Yeah.
And left Boston, where he had won already, which we didn't mention, but go ahead.
Yeah, and that just so many questions. Just going back, and I'm like, damn, why did you leave? And then he has a moment where he goes back and he's like, everything made, and
it was tweezy.
Well, anyway, So JJ Redick, he wants to, essentially bring this guy in, but there are, of course, concerns about, well, we already have somebody that is, getting a large ton of money, so we can't bring in another guy. Plus, we have the face of the team, which to the owner it's Blake Griffin, which is whatever. Anywho. So he has to try to wine and dine them, right? Because there are other offers that he's going to entertain. Which again, you want to do that, and as players, they're going to do that because you want to make sure that you want to go somewhere that you're wanted. So he's having the discussion with the owner and some other individuals, and he's fighting the owner on it, and the owner isn't backing down. So they have a few instances where they go back and forth with words, and essentially the initial conversation ends with Doc Rivers, getting frustrated, and they hang up on the phone, and then of course get the call back, and it's like, all right, I'm in on JJ, and I was like, what the heck? You could have saved me all this trouble, but it just shows that this guy is really he's a menace. This Donald guy is a menace. He's always in the midst of something, trying to rough something up, and then getting bad advice from random people that he's close with. Like, oh, I heard this guy was really good. I was like, well, no, this is what you have a coach for, a scouting department. Guys that work very close in the front office that do these type of things. You don't get, these type of suggestions and these type of pieces of advice from people that,
from your sugar baby. You can say it. Listen.
Yeah. And from the dentist. Like, I mean, I get it. I respect it. People have niches, but so they end up getting JJ Redick, but it kind of just seems like you get a very, very good glimpse of the future or what you're going to have to be dealing with if it takes all of this to get somebody that's considered a key piece to a championship winning basketball team.
And the ironic part about that was him not knowing JJ Redick was white.
Right.
That's why he didn't want him.
So disappointed.
He was like, I didn't know he was white. I'm like, bruh, like another red flag sign right there.
Right. You're so racist that you don't respect Black people. You don't like them. Right. You don't want them coming to your games and stuff like that, but you need them to work for you. This man is running a multi-million-dollar plantation, essentially, and calling it the Clippers organization, and then complaining when you bring in white people to help. These Donalds, it's something about the name, Deonte.
Right. The Donalds. But
it's the Donalds.
Another funny thing that I saw, like they flash it really quick, but the different memes that they put up.
Yes.
I don't know if I paused on some of
memes.
Them.
Yeah.
I paused on some of them. One was like 12 years a Clipper.
That's when they had CP3 on there, right?
Yeah.
Or CP3.
Yeah. Oh my God.
It had Clippers with like 3Ks to start out. It was crazy.
But the jokes were writing themselves back then, y'all.
Oh, yeah.
You've talked about it a little bit, Dane, but you bring in JJ Redick into a team that has essentially two leaders. It has on the one end, Chris Paul, CP3, played by J. Alphonse Nicholson. Most people would know him as Lil Murda from P Valley. Yeah, this man be acting. And then you got Austin Scott portraying Blake Griffin on the other side. And the dynamic between the two, I think we all hear about this kind of stuff on ESPN. Oh, this person's a locker room guy. This person the team doesn't really like. But how did you feel, Dane, watching it kind of play out for us? And also a better question, how do you think they feel? Because they watching this.
Ooh-wee. Where do I start? Well, along with me being a lifelong Lakers fan, I am enemy number one of one Christopher Paul III. I love CP3 slander. I live for it. Right? And there was once a time that CP3 was going to be a Laker, and then of course, that didn't happen. One of the saddest days in Lakers history. We get it. But I love nothing more than to see portrayals, memes, jokes, rants, fights, especially fights that involve Chris Paul, because is this nice guy persona that he has. And again, I don't know Chris Paul. Chris Paul seemed the street, probably tried to swing on me, hit my ankle or something. I don't know. But anyway, it's nice of the persona that he has. It doesn't matter because everybody who's close to him, and based on the way that he's being portrayed in this show, he's got a little bit of chip on his shoulder. And he's gonna remind people about it. But I based on what we know, based on the stories that we have, based on the literature that we have to reference, I think they did a pretty spot on job with the way that Chris is, and then just the dynamic between them both trying to be the guy. And then the beautiful thing about this is we already, all this stuff is already played out. But one of the things that I value so much about this particular this role that Lawrence Fishburne is playing is that he's getting to balance those different personalities in the locker room and way to play them against each other. And so the scene where he was talking to both of them, and it was cutting between the scenes, I thought it was perfect. was perfect. It was, big upping one guy, trying to tap into his little man. You can be all the things you can be, but as a team, and then of course, the way that he was handling and managing Blake Griffin was just, it was an excellent way to portray how these coaches just have, it's a 24/7 job. They don't just coach on game days and run practice in between that. There's a lot of managing personalities, and we got a good glimpse of that, which I think was fantastic, and what a lot of people can appreciate. But if I was Chris Paul, I'd be salty. I'd be really salty.
Nice. Even in that practice scene, Dane, to back up your point, when he just started ripping each and every one of them, and they were looking at him crazy, what? Why is coach coming at me like that? Right. And then you can see it was just his, way of trying to get them to play harder, play for one another, play for each other. But yeah.
Yeah, I too have a good hatred into the Clippers, but due to a verbal agreement between this one character on this show and my favorite team, the Dallas Mavericks, I will never forgive them. I will never forgive them. I will never forgive them. You know what you did, DeAndre Jordan. You know what you did. You know what you did. Yeah, you know what you did. That's all I will say. Y'all know what y'all did. And so, yeah, I'm going to sit here and tap dance on y'all grave too and laugh at all of these silly moments because, yeah, you're right. The team is not going to prosper because it has two leaders who are they're not on the same page. The locker room is sick of Chris Paul's mouth. They're like, he talks too much. He talks too much trash. But Blake ain't a great leader. He's just not. And so you have a person who's probably a good leader that nobody wants to follow and somebody who's not a great leader, but he has been placed as the captain on here. And so now Doc Rivers has to manage all of that while also figuring out how to keep Donald Sterling at bay. Deonte, there's a scene in one of the episodes where they're having a business call and Donald Sterling's on the conference call. He's on speakerphone just ranting, just yelling random ass racist and just random statements. And they got him on mute. And they're literally handling business like he's not even there. So it's no wonder why, despite all of these other issues that they have with the Clippers, you can't get past those if your owner is just one of the worst people to ever be involved in basketball, probably.
Literally doomed from the start. Everything, in any business, whether it's team oriented, business related, the success of that organization, the success of that company starts at the top. And if it's dysfunction at the top, if it's a bad person at the top, a racist at the top, someone that is not good at the top, I tend to think that trickles down the organization, right? And I think you saw, at least the way that they depicted it in this show, is how they tried to, like you said, do business without him. I feel like they made a decision. All right, Donald is Donald. We'll do what we have to do to make the team successful. And in the end, Donald messes it up anyway, right? So, that goes back to the point, eventually, the house is going to come crumbling down. Yeah.
And speaking of the house, V is trying to purchase a home. She wants to have a house so that she can adopt a couple kids. She will foster a couple kids. So she has a plan. She also has a sister that she's trying to get taken care of. This woman is working her magic on this man. She is all over him. She's getting money. She's getting the courtside tickets and stuff like that. But when he doesn't give her what she wants, we see a very interesting dynamic. He talks to her almost as if she's not a person. And then she begs or, pleads or does whatever, acts out. And he brings her back in as almost like, no, I'll take care of you. And the whole time this is happening, his wife, Shelly, is looking on. She is so salty. She can't understand why he won't give her the time of day, why he's flaunting this sugar mama, sugar baby around in front of everybody. Everybody sees it. And so Shelly finally decides enough is enough. I am going to figure out a way to put a stop to all these fancy cars, these gifts, these clothes. And I think had V Stiviano been had a little bit more finesse, we probably wouldn't even get here. But I think she was just so high on her own supply that she didn't care to look at Shelly as somebody who she might need to have as an ally potentially or something like that. Because there's a scene where they go, I guess they're at a boutique and she's buying some clothes and Shelly approaches him like, I know you're not buying this girl clothes from this boutique. This is where I be shopping. And V Stiviano says, yeah, that's why he's not buying me clothes. These clothes are for you because you're old. I don't shop here. Old ladies shop here. And I was like, damn, that's not going to help you at all. So throughout, she is tap dancing all over this lady in her marriage. And so finally, Shelly has to lash out. And that's where I think the tapes come in, right? We start to see the tapes when V starts to feel scorned by Shelly. And so the tapes make national news, Dane. And I don't know if you ever heard the originals, but like Deonte said, they're pretty close.
I heard some snippets. I guess back then it was just like there's the denial part. The denial part, like, how can someone be this stupid to one, not know that they're being recorded, but now finding out that, of course, he agreed to this arrangement. And of course, what could possibly go wrong? But two, like, after I heard one of the first ones that came out about, I think when he was referring to Magic Johnson, that was one of the first and only clips that I actually heard about, by way of like TMZ or something like that. I don't know which network or medium it was, but I was like, man, this is awkward. Glad it ain't my team.
Right.
But then, of course, my teams have their own situations that go on. They're quite similar, paternity lawsuits, all the sorts of crazy things, allegedly. Mm-hmm. But anyways, it just was, I couldn't imagine. One thing I wanted to do when watching the show, I tried to dismiss anything that I already knew about it, to just try to see how I would receive this, how I would receive and understand and analyze this as if it was her firsthand account. The first thing was, Shelly. And I had the misfortune of running into Shelly before on Yellowstone. She was a beast in Yellowstone too, like similar type of person. Like, she's smiling face, she's really nice, but she can bite at you and it'll hurt, and you're gonna remember it. So I thought, the character or the person that was portraying Shelly, I thought she was gonna have that in her, which she did. Like, she came for it, and rightfully so. You out here having, dinner with your homegirls, and they're talking about how much of a travesty it is that this girl's parading her, that your husband is parading this woman around. And one of the footnotes of the conversation is, well, at least they're not having, sex. They're not being anything physical. And then, of course, the camera pans to all the homegirls, and they're like,
yeah,
right.
So I'm like,
yeah, it's tough to believe that there's nothing physical going on. I mean, the V even has a homegirl. She got a partner in crime, and her partner in crime be gassing her up. Hey, V, you hit the jackpot here. Donald Sterling, this is your grade. You're trying to do what you gotta do to get what you want. And so V goes in to get what she wants. She's like, okay, I need to go in with a plan because I want the money. I want the house. I want the nice things. I don't want to get boxed out of the the courtside seats. I want to have all the nice stuff. But she fails. She comes back and she's like, nah, I'm sorry. I wasn't able to lock this one up. And her homegirl says, what do you mean? Did you have the sex? Did you do the things with him? And she's like, no, we don't do that. And I about fell out my chair. I was like, what you mean you don't do that?
and the friend looked at her just like that.
She's
like Gucci Mane at the Breakfast Club. Like, huh? Yeah. Right. Because what are you doing that got this man wanting to take care of you like this? V. Stiviano will do multiple interviews after this is all said and done. And in those interviews, she will talk about her relationship with Donald Sterling. And Deonte, there's a few times where you see them interact. It doesn't always look transactional. Sometimes it actually looks like she cares about him. Do you feel like that's probably accurate, or is this all just, a day in the life of a sugar baby?
I personally, from what I've seen, I didn't necessarily pay attention to the real life version of her when all this was going on, but I'm just going to go off the portrayal. The portrayal to me seems like it's for her gain. Whether it's for, getting the adoption work in the house, the car, whatever she needs. But to me, it just feels like it's transactional on both sides. Like, for her, it's those particular things. But for him, it's just feeding his ego. It's feeding the Donald Sterling. I'm the man. I can do this. I can do that. I got money. I got my wife here. I got the team here. I got my assistant side piece here. I think that's the transactional part. It's not anything but that. Like, it's not a love thing. It's not I wouldn't even say it's a lust thing, because they're not doing anything intimate from what we've seen, right? I think it's just transactional on both sides. Yeah.
Thank God.
Yeah, the foot rubbing.
Thank God, it was just a foot rubbing.
Yeah, we have to see nothing worse than the foot rubbing in this one.
Yeah.
But I think you're right. I think there are definitely moments where if she doesn't get her way, she acts in a certain way and it gets his attention. Dane mentioned the Magic Johnson picture, but that was a complete that was a calculated move. She knew that he would be upset with Magic Johnson because one, Magic's a Laker. Two, he's magical, he's successful, and he's black.
And he's black.
And he's black. Black Biggie, black Biggie. Yeah. So that got Donald's head spinning, And so then when Donald's not really happy with her, he's like, oh yeah, now you can't sit in the box seats. You've given them somewhere else. And so they do this back and forth.
Yep.
Exactly. But to me, because we're led to believe that there is no actual sexual intimacy, I'm starting to believe that, yeah, you're right. It's all about control. It's all about control and the image, right? To be able to say, I have this hot chick on the side, who I can put in front of everybody and nobody can do anything to me. I'm untouchable. My own wife is cool with it. We're not even having sex. I just got her here because I can. You know what I'm saying? And so for me, that's kind of like, if you really look at Donald Sterling, that's what you have to look at. Like, it's not even about the physical part of having a girlfriend or a mistress. This is just to feed his massive ego. And when you have a character like that, you just can't help but root on their downfall. I am loving this series because I know it's going to end in a happy story for me. Okay.
Yeah. We know the ending. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And so for me, I'm appreciative of hey, it's not sexual, but there are other ways you could really look at this and see, what type of person you're dealing with. At some points, V calls herself the philanthropic director of the Donald Sterling Foundation, which, Dane, to me really feels like he gave her a fake job so he could just justify giving her a bunch of money. And allowing her to make donations with it.
Buddy in the suite, when she told him that, he was like,
oh yeah,
good luck with that.
Well, how's that gonna go for you?
He turned around so quick, bro.
Yeah, like, what? The foundation? Okay. Yeah. So by the time we hit episode 2, it's called A Blessing and a Curse. By the time we hit episode 2, Shelly has served V with some papers. She is suing her for $2.5 million, saying that she stole this money, essentially. This is money that belonged to Shelly and Donald has been giving it to V because she seduced, she cheated, she extorted money from him, all this stuff. V says it's just a gift. Shelly says this is her money. Dane, who is right?
You got to go with Shelly in this one. I mean, when you thinking about it, I think they refer to it as like community funds or community something like that in terms of the money. Like on paper, yeah, you got to follow the money, and the money says that this bank account, the bank of we, not bank of me, the bank of we, she has just as much as them being married. I'm not familiar with the laws in California and all that, but I know one thing: when you are married. And then there's a situation, sometimes leading to divorce, sometimes not leading to divorce. There's no longer mine's or hers. That's ours. And a large part of that being ours is she has just as much right to be mad about the money as he has just as much amount of right to give money. Doesn't make either one of them wrong or right. It just makes it the fact that the left hand has to know what the right hand is doing in every situation when it involves money like that. So when you're giving away, I don't know what the total amount of money is that he's gifted her, or valuables or goods or whatever the case may be, but just enough to piss her off. And again, like she mentioned in the show, it's not enough to hurt her. Like 2.5 isn't going to hurt them. That's nothing. That's a drop in the bucket. It's pocket change, pocket full of pennies they just throw on the sidewalk. There's nothing in there. But it's like you mentioned before, it's the principle and it's the power of it all. So to make her feel just small and insignificant, and again, I don't know how much when it's all said and done, I don't know how much, how many items or the value of the amount of gifts that she got, but I think her getting slapped with papers of 2.6 million, I think that was being very generous, because I think it could have been a lot worse, a whole lot worse.
Yeah, it's like a statement. You know what I'm saying? You hit somebody with that kind of lawsuit, you don't expect them to be able to pay it in the first place, right? Like this girl does not have $2.6 million liquid assets just to give you. So like, and you're doing that to intimidate her, right? And to scare her.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think I might have missed it. I felt like there was a particular scene. You know what? I think you're gonna mention it when the tapes come out. Like Shelly says something like, I didn't like. She basically was saying that she didn't feel like it would go this far, like where she would go.
Yeah.
She thought it
She
would just
said you didn't
back
even give
her.
me a chance to buy the tapes. You
Yeah,
like I
yeah.
would have bought them for you, and then we call it even. You know.
Right,
Right.
right.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, okay. So in the real time, right? The lawsuit complaint was accusing Stiviano of targeting wealthy older men, so such as Donald. The suit claimed that Donald Sterling used the couple's money to buy a Ferrari, as we saw in this, 2 Bentleys, and a Range Rover. Stiviano also took $1.8 million duplex through fraud, which we see the duplex in this, okay? And we don't really talk about the fraud, but it was fraudulent apparently, and received about $250,000 in cash, according to the court documents. So the lawsuit was very much real, even though Donald Sterling doesn't seem even a little bothered by it at all. He's just kind of like, it'll go away, don't worry about it. But you're right, Deonte. By the time the tapes start to drop, it's too late. There's nothing that that anybody can do because Shelly has served her the papers, and now V is retaliating, almost as a way of like trying to get Donald to help her out, you know, because he's completely iced her out by this point, even though she's still the girlfriend.
Yeah, and even when the I forget his name, but like the PR guy comes when Donald's like laid out and actually tells him the tapes are out. At that point, he's still like arrogant because you can see throughout when he and V get in these arguments that it eventually works out in his favor because he still gets her to be, you know, okay, I'll do this, Donald, I'll do that. Like it has always worked out in his favor. So in his mind, this is just another hiccup where she won't go through with it. I'll talk to her. I'll do this. I'll do that. And everything will be peachy cream. But I'm sure as we'll find out in these episodes, because this, of course, is a real life event, won't go that way.
Yeah. So at some point, Shelly will go to the home of Pierce O'Donnell, the lawyer, played by Corbin Burson from Psych. And she's like, "You're the best legal mind in America. I need you to fix this because right now the tapes are out. Shelly has heard the audio, and there's no way to put the audio back. So now they have to figure out a way. Do we say that V coerced him into saying this? Like, is there any way we can make this go away and put this on her?" So Shelly's dealing with that while the whole time V is trying to actually, I guess, reason with Donald to have her back. But we haven't talked about the content of the tapes. Okay. So you get stuff said like, you hear V on the one end saying, "What's wrong with minorities? What's wrong with black people?" And he's saying, "You're supposed to be a delicate white lady or at least a Latino person. You're not supposed to be black." And she's saying that, "Wait, what do you mean? What do you mean? Why can't people know that I'm black? Why can't people see me?" He's saying, "I want to love you privately, but you think I'm a racist." I'm like, yes, you're a racist. Like, how can you not hear this and not hear that you're a racist? He said, "It's the world. The world treats blacks like they're dogs. And that's just the way the world is. Don't come to my games. Don't bring black people." I mean, one after one, just hit after hit. And she's openly recording him. This is not some candid camera. She's wearing a wire trying to get him. She's recording him in front of his face.
See, and that's the thing. To Dane's point, when this started, I did not know that he had agreed for the conversation to be recorded. So at the time, like when this real time was happening, in my mind, you would think the way she was phrasing these questions, like the tone, the way she's saying it, like a normal person would think, you trying to make me say something. Like, are you recording me? Is this being recorded?
You got a wire on you.
You gotta tell me if you're a cop or it's entrapment. Yeah, exactly.
That is the way, like the framing of the questions were. But now we know that he knew it was getting recorded, or he had given their permission previously to record it. So it's like, it all goes back to that arrogance, man. Like he always felt that none of this was going to come to light, obviously, but like she wouldn't have the power, the confidence, or whatever you want to call it, to release these tapes, because it's insane. Like even hearing it back over, and like I mentioned at the top of the pod, just going back and hearing the real life version, they did a pretty good job of keeping it so similar every way. Like even like how they talk to one another, which just I can't listen to it again. But it's just so like my response was just like, just like,
very gross.
Yeah.
Very gross. I think we see them in the playoffs, right? In this run, we know obviously that they are not going to win. But while this is happening, the tape is out. My favorite part of this entire 2-episode run is the players' reaction when they figure out that the tape is out, because they say, there's a tape of your owner, and everybody's like, ugh!
What's the sex tape? Even Doc thought at first too, oh boy, King. He's like, I don't want to see that. Yeah.
I don't want to see anything. Don't put that in my mind.
Don't show it to me. Yeah, but it turns out it's just audio. He actually does have video as well of Donald Sterling doing weird stuff and saying weird things. But this is getting to the Clippers when they're up, I think 2-1 against the Golden State Warriors.
Let's talk about that.
Can we talk about?
Let's talk about the Warriors.
Let's talk about Steph Curry?
That was Dak Prescott.
That was Dak.
That was Dak Prescott.
Dak is who for the Warriors. Also, that is like, everything now is meme worthy and meme culture. So next season, Steph Curry has a bad game. Somebody's throwing that team up. That's a wrap. They've had Draymond out there being Draymond-ish on the court.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
Like the play, like they knew that they didn't have the capability of making like the game seem realistic. So you saw quick clips. Like I felt like we were talking about winning time before. I felt like the winning time during the actual games, like, because they did like long scenes of games. Like they did a really good job of at least making it the action looks somewhat decent. Here, like the lighting's weird. I don't want to get into specifics about it. It's kind of nitpicky, but you could just tell that they felt like, all right, we just throwing quick shots here and there because we ain't got it like that. We just want you to know what happened.
They had one shot that I was like, all right, that's realistic. Whoever was playing Jamal Crawford hit the Jamal Crawford step back, put the ball behind his back, and threw it up for a shot. And I was like,
okay, I missed that one.
Everything else you can do without. I was like, man, that look like Jamal Crawford. I was like, oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, Jamal Crawford.
Yeah.
Get the whole thing.
Had Glenn Davis in there too.
Big baby.
He was clouded with the pork chops.
Big baby.
Crazy.
Yeah. We didn't talk about some of the background basketball players on the cast, but as you have already pointed out, we got some wild glimpses of who we assume is Steph Curry and Klay Thompson out there as well. Glenn Big Baby Davis, played by Jock McKissick. And then I think we haven't really talked about him at all, but y'all see Sarunas Jackson from Insecure walking around? That's Matt Barnes, if you didn't know.
Barnes.
Yeah.
Matt Barnes.
Yeah. Right from Insecure, right?
Straight from Insecure. Yeah. Easily probably the tallest person on this cast because that man is a giant. But yeah, so that's going on during the games. I think, if I remember correctly, the Clippers do go on to win this series against Golden State. And then
I can't remember because this was like young Warriors.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they will go on to beat them and then lose in the very next round. And some might argue that had they not been facing so much controversy, that this might have actually been the team to get past the Thunder, I think, in the next round. And so, yes, we find ourselves at an impasse because the team is on the up and up. Doc has figured out the thing that they were missing. They didn't have any grit. They weren't used to people trash talking them. So he went down and roasted them all. Yeah.
This is the year.
This is the one.
We're going to get over that hump.
What could possibly go wrong? So one of the final scenes in episode 2, I believe they're on the elevator or something, and we have Donald Sterling and Shelly. They're on the elevator and they're talking to Chris Paul and Matt Barnes, I think it is. And Donald is very drunk, and he has decided to tell them, I want you to sing for me. Sing for me. Sing for me now. And they kind of laugh it off. They don't sing Happy Birthday to Don. But after this, the tape drops. And I feel like if this is me, I'm replaying all those moments in my head back, and they just hit different. Like you're drunk, the drunk owner of the team telling you, okay, sing happy birthday to me. Fine, he's drunk, with his wife, he's having a good time. I probably don't think nothing about it. But this is the same person who we see yell at Doc at some point. I am your owner. I am your owner. And that just hit different when you find out how this man feels about black people. Am I tripping?
Nope. No, you're right. Along with him thinking Blake Griffin is Puerto Rican or Mexican or something, him parading him around by the arm. I was like, I forgot about that. We completely glossed over it. And the fact that it happened like within the first 20 or 30 minutes of the show was like,
because that wasn't Dre the one that said they leaned over and said he think Blake's Puerto Rican or something like that.
He thinks he's Latino. Yeah.
Well,
Latino. Yeah. And the crazy thing is that they talked to Blake about it. And Blake, and I don't know if this is a real quote. Somebody find Blake Griffin and get him on the phone. Blake says, you just give him your hand and disengage. I was like, are you in an abusive relationship? It's like, yeah, you just smiling. What?
Dignity. That's not the leader of my team.
Hell right. Stand up. Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Chris Paul not letting this man drag him around like this. Well, he also very much can tell Chris Paul is not Latino, or at least not light skinned Latino, if you will. Yeah. He can see black. Yeah, for
little
sure.
did we know all the Clippers were in a Jordan Peele film.
Bruh.
Facts.
Every last one of them playing basketball and Get Out. You know what I'm saying? I got 5 on it playing in the background, but like chopped and screwed. Yeah. So that's it. We end up in a situation where the tape is out, the team is up, but we know the team is about to go down in a hard way against the Thunder. And I'm assuming a lot of this controversy will be front of mind for many of them. So the show gives us a real play-by-play of how we got to the point where the tapes drop, but now we have to watch week to week to find out, okay, what happens next and what does it look like when we're watching it from the inside? Because as y'all have pointed out before, yes, we were around when it happened, but reading it in the tabloids, reading like the Twitter posts and all the little blogs and stuff like that, I feel like that didn't do it justice, okay? Because I got a good hate into Donald Sterling in this episode, where I was probably mostly indifferent to him prior to this, but now, I don't know where this guy is, but I hate him, you know?
Yeah, I'm very interested to see how it goes forward from here, because I can't necessarily, I know what happens towards the end, but like you said, the process from when the tapes drop to that end point, I can't remember that. So I'm interested to see how it's portrayed, and then those memories coming back like, oh yeah, he did say that. Oh yeah, they did feel this way. So I'm just interested to see how they portray it and how it goes on from there for sure.
Me in particular, I mean, the icing is already on the cake, and I've consumed a large portion of it. It's been enjoyable. So anything extra at this point is just more people. I think for me, I'm looking forward to see how the hell they can fit more LeVar Burton in there just randomly.
Boy,
who's in there?
LeVar Burton being this man's sauna buddy. He just that they sauna buddies. Yeah. I didn't even know people did that. You just got hey, bro, it's good to see you again, LeVar. You know.
Yeah, like what the? So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. But anything else extra that jogs memories? Oh yeah, that did happen. That's also cool too. But give me more.
Yeah. Well, just some other insight into the actual happenings of the case. I think that Stiviano's lawyers initially said that she didn't have nothing to do with it going public. It wasn't her. Like it went, the tapes were leaked. It wasn't me. But one of the hundreds of tapes that she reclaims end up getting out. I mean, recorded. She ends up getting out. She ends up posting pictures of herself. There's more and more information that just comes out about the lawsuit. I think in 2018 is where she did her last public interview with TMZ, and they asked her to weigh in on some racist comments made by Roseanne Barr. She ended up saying that, oh, no one has freedom of speech anymore. No one can say what they feel, because if they do, they're going to lose their job. So we see what side of the coin V. Stiviano is living on these days. And as far as the Clippers, they're currently owned by Steve Ballmer, the former CEO of Microsoft, who purchased the Clippers from the Sterling Family Trust for $2 billion in May of 2014. So the highest price paid for an NBA team ever at that time, a month after this tape is leaked. So I'm sure we will see all of that and more this season on Clipped, the story of the scandalous story of LA's other basketball team. But until then, thank you, gentlemen, for joining me here on Recap Kickback. It's been a blast.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Enjoyed it.
No, this has been so much fun. There's a ton of sports movies, black sports movies, just movies in general that I would love to have you two back for in the future, for television appearances, all that good stuff. Anything that I'm doing here, you feel welcome to come back to Recap Kickback because this has been a great time. But I do want to give you a chance to tell everybody what you're working on. Dane, tell the people where they can find you on social media, what you got going on.
Yeah, pretty easy to find on whatever platform that you might be on. But I'm Dane BTX. That's DANE BTX on the Twitter, as I'm going to still call it. Instagram, maybe TikTok. I don't know. But yeah, not working on anything too crazy. Still in the lab. We got something cooking, and I'm sure that the viewers and the people who rock with us and have been rocking with us a long time, they'll be really excited to see what we have in store. But that's all I got.
And Deonte, thank you. Tell everybody what you got going on and where they can find you.
Yep. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at DEPS Right Steps, all together. And our podcast handle is what you see at the bottom if you're watching this on YouTube, at Duo SNS Podcast. Like Dane said, we got some cool stuff in the works. Hopefully we can kind of plan that out more and get it out before the end of the summer. But yeah, just once again, thank you, Chappell, for having us on. When we got to come back at some point soon. It's been fun as always, but appreciate you, man.
Already, no problem. Thank y'all for coming. As for me, if you've been listening to Recap Kickback, you know we got a lot of stuff going on here. We have a episode that should be out by the time this drops. From Council Culture, the television show hosted by Nick Cannon, talking about men's mental health and other problems that plague men specifically. They have panels of like psychotherapists and professionals who talk about anxiety, depression, and other things like that. Me and Tyrone talked about that. So that should be out in your podcast feeds right now. Other than that, you can catch me on the Nothing But Netflix podcast. This week, we talked about Ren Fair on HBO Max. You can check that out. It's a 3-part docuseries. We talked about the first part, and then I think 2 and 3 will drop next week in preparation for HBO, I guess, rolling out their House of the Dragon Season 2 coverage, which we will be covering here on Recap Kickback. That's right. Hot D coming here soon. Recap Kickback, the Westeros Kickback coming soon. Mari will be back to talk about that one with me week to week. Also, you can catch me on the Bravo Below Deck podcast feed with Sasha Joseph. This week we had America Lopez from Big Brother on as our guest to talk about that show. It was fun. We went live on YouTube. Check it out on the Bravo Below Deck feed for RHAP, or you can check it out on the YouTube page as well. And then you can also check one of my recent guest appearances. I was over on the Was It Good Though podcast talking about Insecure. And so if you've seen the Was It Good Though people that came on here, they were the ones who I brought on to guest when we talked about the rap beef between Kendrick Lamar and Drake. They were a fun time there. So they had me on a part of their panel discussion about Insecure and why the show is so great. So you can catch me over there, and you can, of course, follow me on all social media platforms at Recap Kickback, and follow at Recap Kickback wherever you get your podcast. But until next time, for Dane, for Deonte, and for myself, you ain't got to go home, but you know the rest. We will catch you all next week. Peace.